Hello, sir.
Senior Brad.
What's up, man? How was your weekend?
It was funny. I was watching football some over the weekend, and I've almost like completely forgotten about the pandemic. I was looking at it, and I was going, God, I don't remember watching much football last year. And then I remember, oh no, that was the year before when the stadiums were empty. And so you're kind of watching it, and then of course, yesterday was 9/11, of course, too. I feel a little guilty, but I didn't even know until I watched it in the Dallas Tampa Bay game, and it was the prelim. Because the day before that's my brother's birthday. There's a lot of holidays, but it just brings back all those memories, and not always the pleasant ones. So
no. My dad's birthday is 9/11, so
Ooh.
Yeah, it sucks for him. But
wait, oh no, the 5th was my first wife's birthday. I was thinking I also have another interesting holiday like that too, where my first wife, she decided for us to get married on her birthday. God bless her. But
my first wife, we got married on Valentine's.
Yeah, I'm like, so now you ruined your birthday for the rest of your life. Or I ruined your birthday for the rest of your life. How about that? It's funny how those dates just hang, man.
That's hilarious.
But dude, the Polygon Starbucks deal, that is, to me, I always believe if you're going to do metaverse or anything like this, you got to have these in real life sort of portals into the platforms in a way. You have to have a geography piece. Yeah. And with Starbucks footprint and everything they're doing, it's like each one, if you think decentralization, think how many nodes that is basically. And this is just, to me, the kind of stuff that's coming. And the reason I think it's the NFT one, the reason that they do it on Polygon, obviously, is because it costs nothing to do NFTs on Polygon. There's no energy consumption at all, pretty much. So it just fits all around. I just was so glad to see that. Some more expansion news.
I'm just curious. I'm curious how the customers of Starbucks are going to react. The anti-crypto, anti-NFT group. Not that that's all of their customers, but I think the benefits of exposing people to it far outweighs any problems. And the beauty of it is, I'm sure Starbucks is going to make it so that that people don't even necessarily realize it's an NFT, right? Except it'll be fun graphics or something like that. So Niblet said, Starbucks points hold more value than most banks, giving Bucks a free multi-billion-dollar loan. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Thankfully, my wife has reduced that habit, so we have less hanging out there. So, but that's a lot of float.
There was a great picture circulating on Twitter today. Yeah, I'm in there now. And it was a gal sitting at a Starbucks, or a person of the feminine OG. A woman by birth, sitting there. I don't know how to say it anymore, but I'm just gonna say it was a girl sitting there. Okay, I don't know anything beyond that, but she had a laptop open and said like "Smash Capitalism," and somebody wrote something that said, "Yeah, drinking your $9 Starbucks, wearing your $140 Ray-Bans with your $1,500 MacBook. Let's go smash capitalism." And it just made me back to the whole thing about labels. I always talk about communism and socialism and how different they are. Well, everybody just puts capitalism in some like God or it's just a word that means all these things to different people.
Yep.
99% of which is probably incorrect.
Exactly.
So hardcore capitalism, you die if you don't make a profit, you get executed, stuff like that, you get wiped out. Yeah, I'm not for that. But, some little healthy initiative with the underlying safety nets. Yeah, I'm for that. That's the platform, so it's just funny when you see things all around. But I think this is all good for crypto uptake because, like you said, it gets the normies who are, maybe it's an NFT, maybe the 10 drink, get one free card, punch card, or if they even still have those, turns into an NFT. And then
they're saying that they'll get digital collectible stamps in the form of an NFT. Offers benefits and immersive experiences.
Yeah, which is what you want in an NFT offering. It's not just a card, basically, or a pick. It's it's going to have functionality built in.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool, right? Because now people are going to go, "Oh, this is an NFT? Holy shit, I can do this."
Idea.
Yeah, Niblets. What if Bucks decides to hold some portion of that in Matic? That'd be freaking hot.
It would make sense.
Yeah, it's awesome. No, I'm excited about this thing. It's very good. It's good to see it happen, and I'm glad to see that adoption. You know, it's interesting. I don't know if we want to go through this right now because it's a lot. You know what? Let's go through our other stories. But Delphi Digital, which is a huge player in DeFi from an investment perspective, they started off as an analyst data company, right? So they analyze projects, they analyze strategies, technologies, et cetera, and they've become this big thing that a lot of people subscribe to. They also invest in a lot of startups, and they have their own team of 50 developers that they call Delphi Digital Labs. And Delphi Digital Labs was doing all of their building on the Terra blockchain.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, that's brutal.
Oh, I sold my LUNC, by the way, everybody.
Oh, good.
At 00054.
Very nice.
You notice it's at 0004, but anyhow, go ahead.
And so they just did this pretty in-depth analysis of chains because they were trying to decide where they wanted to build from now on. And so they went through their thesis, and I won't go into it now. If we have time at the end, I'll run through so I did this bullet summary of the reasons they chose, and they went through each chain. They didn't look at Phantom, by the way, but they went through each chain and made their reasoning for it based on the thesis of what they think is going to happen in DeFi, and then their decision for what they were going to build on. So we can talk about it after we get through the other stories.
No, that would be a really good story. I'd love to know what they say about each one.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I mean, it's basically the same story on many of them. Polygon, the reason I thought of it is Polygon finished second. So, and that's mainly because of some centralization issues that they've had and that they're just now starting to address at Polygon. So anyway, this is ETH
in those rankings or comments?
Yep. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So
layer one.
Yeah.
Layer ones, roll-ups, everything was in there.
So Optimism, Avalanche.
So Avalanche is in there. Optimism, Arbitrum are in there as
Metis?
layer twos. Yeah. So they tell why they made all these decisions. It's a really long piece, but I just bulleted out the reasons.
Is it up on this? Do you think you're sharing it right now or no?
No.
Okay, cool.
I
just want to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. Binance is going to launch soulbound tokens. So I don't remember our discussion about that, but that was Vitalik and some other researchers' idea to create identity tokens, essentially, that can't be sold. So they belong to you. They are your identity. They become attached to you. They can be revoked, but that is your identity on chain, is these tokens. So very interesting that Binance is jumping on this, and faster than has happened on the Ethereum chain, which is where Vitalik was proposing it, right? But as a way to kind of provide a proof of identity capability. So I thought that was really interesting that, first we find out last week about BNB ZK BNB, and now they're doing soulbound tokens too. So
what I like about this, I don't know about the merits of soulbound tokens vis-a-vis anything other than tagging a wallet. I guess you have to hold them in your wallet to trade on Binance or in your account.
It's a token. So here's what they're doing with it. They're going to allow them, so you use them on BNB chain, but they're going to be used as proof of identity for Binance users who've completed KYC verification.
See, that's what I like. I mean, look, everybody wants to stay private, of course, but we know this has to happen. And I like the fact that they're making a big KYC push, other than just, because we always joke about it that, how they were restricting American users for years and years on those no KYC accounts.
Yeah.
But, that's why we talk about VPNs all the time, because
but you can't do that anymore on Binance.
No, I know. Unfortunately, I haven't been over there in a year. Ever since last October.
Because
you can't do anything.
Yep.
So, and it wasn't that I cared about identifying myself, but that's where they got to go to keep the U.S. happy right now.
That's right.
And maybe, there's merits of whether they should do that or not, but I think from a business standpoint, I think it makes total sense. So
yeah, exactly. And I agree. And look, I think the potential uses of this go far beyond, proving KYC. But
what would
here's
you think? I don't know any, I have no concept of that. What would be like potential uses?
So it could be usage of identity in owning your data on a social network. It could be,
so outside of the Binance platform applications.
Right.
Ooh, I like that.
And so here's the other thing that it gives, though, the KYC thing gives is, let's say you're launching, you've got a bunch of funding for your cool DeFi application, but your attorneys are like, no fucking way are you taking US customers unless, right? Well, now if they deploy a Binance chain, they can say, look, we're not going to take US customers unless you're KYC. So if you go get a soul-bound token, what do they call it? The Binance account-bound token,
the BAB,
you can use our platform, right? And so from a business perspective, like you said, this makes a ton of sense, right? Because it now opens up the doors for compliance. And interestingly enough, could push Binance into the lead into kind of regulatory compliance.
Well, yeah, that's what's really cool. I mean, I guess, when so there's a wallet sitting there and it's got the BAB tokens in it, but nobody else can see who that is, right? It still maintains the user privacy to the overall market.
I would assume so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's not like something that says I'm Brad Nickel on chain.
Yeah, here's my shit. But it does allow, if Brad Nickel that wallet goes and does something inappropriate, it allows people to figure out who that is, or allows Binance to figure out. So here's the interesting thing. So we talk about mixers a lot, and Tornado Cash and all of that, in ways legitimate applications for them. But what if you're going with the BAB token wallet into a mixer, okay, where the only one who sees that happen is Binance. So you could probably get a key or something like that, or a QR code that shows chain of control or custody. Then it spits out the other side of the mixer anonymously, but into another BAB token wallet that has your BAB tokens in it,
right?
Or some, or one. So you still got KYC on both sides, but the chain was broken from the bad people being able to trace your money. And by bad people, sense. I'm not talking about governments. I'm talking about.
Well, criminals. No, it could be a dictator that doesn't want an opposition candidate to have his information shown. So yeah, no, I agree that has potential that way too. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I want fully decentralized non-KYC networks, but the reality is there are going to be KYC implementations, and they're going to be required in some places. The other thing that's interesting here is we talked about kind of USDC's position on their blacklist, right?
Yeah, and
the fact that the only way institutional people are going to come on is if it's a regulated token, because they won't fly in the face of government regulators because they're an institutional or regulated institution.
Yeah.
Something like Binance doing this says, all right, we'll open the door now to institutional investors coming on and using applications on BNB chain because they're more compliant, they're more regulated, right? And maybe there's a hook here that they do with institutional licensing and regulation. I don't know, but the whole thing's very interesting. We'll see if it actually provides any benefit for them. But
hey, can I ask a quick question too on Binance US? How does Binance US integrate in with Binance Smart Chain or Binance Chain or whatever we're called, BNB chain?
How does it integrate?
Yeah, is there ways? Would it be? I guess what I'm getting at, would it be ways for BAB tokens to cross to Binance US and back to, or would there be a reason to?
Well, no. Yes, if Binance US does it. Right now, it's just Binance. And right now, the benefit is that if you use the Binance BNB chain wallet, it has a direct integration with Binance.com. So you can pull tokens out of Binance and into the chain directly with just one click, right? So I would
similar to how you move stuff among wallets and MetaMask, that kind of thing.
Exactly. But that way, if you're buying shit on Binance with your bank account or your debit card, you can just drop it straight into BNB chain, right? And you don't have to go through bridges and transfers or anything else. It's just in the wallet. There's an interface to your tokens that you hold on Binance.com.
This is cool. I mean, because look, if you have even the identity part could be encrypted, protected, or whatever. So the only people who see it or could see it would be, the compliance desk at Binance under a warrant situation, let's say, or under some whatever the threshold is to do that.
Yeah.
But nobody else in the public sees it. This is what we need. Again, the mixers, everything, because you get KYC that keeps let's just talk about U.S. regulators or European regulators. You get that in place that keeps them content, that there's not a whole bunch of, what would they go to? They would say illicit terrorist funding is my guess, but that there's not a lot of that. And at the same time, if there is, you got a key where you can go in and figure out who.
Yeah. Now, I don't think
cool.
I don't think BNB chain is going to stop non-KYC'd people from using the chain.
No, I didn't mean that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be suicide, I think, for them if they did that. But it does give people a compliance measure. And like I said, I think it's actually could be very interesting to see if US-based DeFi projects say, oh, holy shit, I can go onto Binance chain and only take the KYC'd people, but I don't have to do anything. I don't have to KYC them. Now I just use the KYC off of Binance and this token, this soulbound token, and now I know that they're KYC'd and I have that connection in Binance if it's ever needed later, but I'm being compliant, right?
Yeah.
So my thinking is strategically that this drives more projects to BNB chain that feel the need to have that level of compliance on KYC. So,
well, you get the most coverage on BNB chain. I mean, it's what covers South Asia, Africa, South America, all those places where, they're not on Coinbase.
Yeah.
Okay. They were on Binance Smart Chain. I guess we call it BNB chain now. Is that right?
Yes. BNB chain.
They're over there. Now that's why there's so many scams, but that's being cleaned up. This kind of thing will also reduce scams, I would guess. Maybe you can only promote or some way where you have to have the BAB token to be shilling or something, or just something that makes the voices authentic.
Yeah.
The one thing about, like, I was watching some other podcasts over the weekend and on Twitter, and just the amount of people just picking stuff and saying, I gave this to you last week and it's up 10x now, go get it. Some other, some kind of altcoin. That kind of stuff is compromised intel. I mean, the incentives are not aligned. Brad takes nothing to talk about stuff. I take nothing. So our opinions are authentic. And I think that's what this BNB token could do in the whole social media sphere and all the pumping and hyping around various tokens. It could have that backup to where, it makes people a little bit more credible.
The key is for the US is that Binance US has to adopt this. So I'm hoping Binance US KYC adopts this on BNB chain, because that will, look, I'm KYC'd on Binance US. That's part of doing business there. If I want to work with Binance US or Coinbase, I got a KYC. That's just how it is. If they add that to this, that's powerful. Now, another thing I thought of is, what if they used this for anon projects? So you want to launch a project, you want to remain anonymous, but you want to prove that you've KYC'd with Binance, right? So you have the soulbound token. The 4 founders all have the soulbound token proving they've KYC'd. So if they rug or something goes south, there's a channel to Binance to find out who it was and what they did, right? So
that's what we've been talking about. That's a great, nice way to regulate.
Yeah.
In a sense. I mean, I know the altruists, maxi, pure decentralization, religious crew will say not that, but in the real world, the practical world, it's all KYC.
Well, and from my perspective, look, I want pure decentralization, but at the same time, I realize the reality of the world we live in, right? And that reality is that as more pressure comes down from governments, people will want to remain anonymous while still proving that they've jumped through the regulatory hoops they need to jump through. And I think this is that opportunity. So,
and it's also like you just said, we've talked about this before too, with all these DAOs that are undoxed people. is that, you can be undoxed, and, we always said it has to be a repository somewhere where you could post your identifying information or place it, but nobody could see it unless something bad happened. This seems to do 95% of that. Yeah.
I think this is exactly
cool.
what that does. It's like, hey, launch your project. You don't have to dox yourself, but you can prove that you are a real person that's KYC'd and Binance has your identity by just doing this. Get the soul-bound token from Binance Chain. What do they call it? The Binance account-bound token. So
BAB,
yeah.
fab.
Yeah. So
I
think this provides some interesting use cases and scenarios and has some potential. So we'll see what happens. We hopped right over the market. Sitting at 22. Binance, BTC is at 22 and ETH's at 1,700. ETH is down 3.8% in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin's up 2.01%. Both are up over the 7-day. Everything seems to be doing nice.
It's a big week. CPI print tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to be everybody saying trying to figure out what's going. Then you got those 2 big Senate hearings in the middle of the week.
Yep.
Around regulation. Then on the back end of that, you got the FOMC rate hike coming. And right in the middle, what's there, Brad?
The merge.
The
Oh, look at this. Did you see what Google did?
No.
If you search on the merge on Google, they added this little timer.
Oh.
That's very cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty smart of them. It's brilliant.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, everybody, with the Senate hearings around the merge, all the pro fintech people are like, on the Hill and everything are like, just please make this merge come off good, because everybody on the Hill is ready to do something.
Yep.
But if this is a friggin' debacle, then it's going to be hard to go into the wind, so to speak.
Absolutely.
But if it's a huge success, expect big things fast.
Yep. Yeah, big stuff. Y Combinator is increasing investments in crypto founders despite the market. So there are 30 crypto firms in the most recent cohort, up from 25 in the batch before. And I bring this up not because I think Y Combinator has any real track record yet in crypto. Well, they do actually, Coinbase and some others. But I think what I like to equate this with is this is mainstream, right? Y Combinator is now the mainstream kind of startup
incubator
engine.
Type thing. Yeah.
And if that's increasing, even in a down market, if more projects are coming in and the team at Y Combinator is saying, yeah, we want to fund this and we want to put them through our process, that's a really good sign. Because last week we had some news that overall VC investments were starting to fall off a little bit here in this quarter. But this to me is a great sign that the startup folks coming out of, Silicon Valley and tech world and that world are starting to say, oh shit, I want to be in on this and I have an idea for it. And Y Combinator saying, yeah, we want you to do this. So to me, that's a really good trending sign that it's increasing, and hopefully those cohort numbers keep increasing.
Well, and who watches these cohorts the most? Kleiner Perkins.
Oh yeah, the
NBA.
VC. Sure.
Every big blue chip VC watches these because Y Combinator structures these deals right at the beginning, so there's no roadblocks to VC money. There's no what the WTF, mistakes in here. It's just they got this system down. Now, what I would be curious to know though is of that cohort of 25 in the previous batch, I see one Orange DAO raise some money, but I would really like to see of those 25. Where are they now, basically?
Yeah. Orange DAO raised 80 million.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I not say 80 million?
No, you didn't say any number. I was just saying how much they did raise.
I mean, because you fill the cohort, and then it's down to the founders at that point. And so what I like is now you got a stable of 25 founders that you can follow and see what they do, because most founders at this age group that are, I'm assuming the Y Combinator usually takes sub 25 people,
right?
Not on purpose, just because you bet on founders, not myself, from a VC perspective, I bet on people, not the tech or anything else.
Right.
Can that person get it done? And maybe they won't get it. We talked about before, most founders, it takes like 11 or 12 times before they get one right, the average. So you want to get them young, and you want them to have an indefatigable spirit that's not going to be broken, so they keep going and going and going and going. So my thing, I bet there's a business just identifying these 25 cohort members and tracking them in their projects for the rest of their lives. That's a good strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So
they already got vetted.
Yeah.
Y Combinator just vetted them. You don't got Sifus and all that kind of shit in there where people, have criminal records. This is going to be, regular people with ideas that hopefully can execute. And some very good ideas.
3 consumer-focused wallets, 1 focused on staking, 1 just for Europeans, and 1 that wants to be the most user-friendly wallet for beginners, like Brew Money. And then there's more consumer-focused. So 1 called Internet Friends and Solstar, both hoping to take advantage of the expanding market for community and group-based investing. So sounds like investment clubs or investment following.
Maybe co-ops.
Yeah. And Lyra is launching a debit card. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lyra is the one that is also operating more like a virtual bank that's crypto-focused. And I don't know what Weltio is, but something else consumer focused. And then DeFi protocols are also part of it. 8 of the 30 are building DeFi protocols. Ethos X is out of India, is launching a derivatives. And then this is interesting. Exchequer needs to rename, is a cryptocurrency treasury management tool. And Terrace, an institutional grade trading platform. I'm going to definitely check out some of these. I used to follow all the demo days and see what's what, but now I think now that they're doing more and more crypto, I'm probably going to start watching them again.
Yeah, exactly.
So very interesting. Glad to see it. Like I said, I think mainstream startup development is a great sign for all of crypto. So really glad to see that.
Oh yeah, look to the right. Wait, what was that? Sorry, on the previous page. I was going to see that right. When you get to it, what is that? Are these oh no, those are other companies. I thought maybe that was the list of the cohort. We could put it up somewhere, but no.
No, that's the list of ads.
I mean, Coinbase obviously isn't it?
This was a really interesting thread. I've seen a couple of other kind of investigative threads by this guy Fatman, whose handle is Fatman Terra. But this is essentially a thread accusing Do Kwon of cashing out 2.7 billion.
Stealing is what he's really saying. Yeah.
Well, it was his money, right? It was some of it were the project's tokens and some of it were his tokens. But here's the interesting thing about this, right? He's still pumping. During this time, this 2.7 billion was being
liquidated.
Liquidated. He was still promoting the power and strength of UST, right? This wasn't crash time. This was pre-crash and then crash all the way through. He's talking about how brilliant UST is, how strong it is, how the algorithm is great, blah, 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 blah. In the meantime, he's using lending on Abracadabra to exchange his UST essentially for USDT and USDC. So while he's out talking about UST being the stable coin to rule them all, he's cashing out on USDC and USDT to make sure he has his money when the whole thing goes south.
And it looks like he's doing a 9-9 strategy there too with his UST.
Yeah. He was. Yeah. He was doing the what's it called when they do multiple loans. So you take the loan, 9-9. Wasn't it 9-9? Well, 9-9 was. Yeah, 9-9 was Olympus, and then you do multiple loans against it, and
keep reinvesting the loaned amount.
Exactly.
So you spiral up. Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, he also basically says that Spell was basically giving him the exit liquidity he wanted with their degen box on Abracadabra. So this is a fascinating thread. I'll definitely put it in the show notes. But I wouldn't call this illegal. I would just call this unethical.
Well, shilling long while selling is it's insider trading. Okay,
but
in a
it's
normal world. I know that there's nuance here,
and there is no long for UST, right? So
no, I mean, if you're telling all your audience to keep buying Terra, and then you're selling it at the same time.
Now this was all UST, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I thought you said he was.
I think he was
UST, but aren't you shilling the other one? Because the other one has to go up for you to make money.
I'm sure he was shilling Terra, but in this case, he was also shilling how UST was going to become the strongest stablecoin in the world. But in fact, he was exchanging all of his UST for USDT and USTC.
Yeah, see, there's another one. Yeah, this is just, we have to just have better clarity because this kind of stuff can't happen in the future.
Oh, Sean's fired up about the merge today.
I don't, to me.
Listen, I have zero problem, Sean, with the Ethereum Foundation selling at the top of the market to have cash on hand. Zero problem.
Yeah, I don't really either because I sell a lot.
I want Ethereum to make sure, because they've gotten in trouble in the past when they didn't sell and then they couldn't operate the foundation effectively. So I have no problem with them optimizing their money, buddy. But Vitalik's shilling the merge. I'm not sure what you mean by that, except that, I think all of the Ethereum ecosystem is shilling the merge. But
well, I think there's two differences. I don't see Vitalik as basically shilling to dump everything and cash out, but the DogeCoin move sure looks like you were shilling to cash out.
Exactly.
And I'm not arguing the benefits of ETH over BTC or, at this point. I'm just saying that that's not really.
It's not apples to apples.
No. And also it's just not, the Vitalik, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's, promoting. But the DogeCoin thing, or, to me, that had malicious intent at that point. And when you intend to deceive, that's when you get in big trouble.
Right. Well, and here's what Fat Man says is all of that liquidity getting pulled out of the pools, right? Maybe that DPEG wouldn't have been as fast or quick or even had happened, because 2.7 billion is a lot of friggin' liquidity pulled out.
So he talks about retail there, but good God. 3AC was in this. Everybody was in this.
Everybody that got burned.
So now they have a claim against DogeCoin and Terra that's even further bolstered.
You would think, yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like that. I know everybody chases yield, and when shit's spiraling, you're looking for more yield to make up for it. But this is just one. It has to go to people where there's. I guess everybody trusted them. I didn't, but hey, look, I want to update everybody. I told you I bought Lunk a couple of weeks ago or whatever. Trader. I dumped most of it yesterday or the day before at 00054, just because I'm looking at it, staring down 4 billion in market cap and there's zero activity on the chain, and I'm like, this ain't gonna last. So I'm gone. I kept 10,000 just for grins and giggles in case something happens and it gets it together, which has happened to me before. But it's in the rearview mirror now. So just wanted to make sure nobody thought I was still holding.
That's all right. So this account I follow on Twitter called Econometrics did this analysis of whether or not the U.S. is in an actual recession, based on the actual what did they call it? The official definition from the National Bureau of Economic Research, which requires real GDP, increasing unemployment, decreasing industrial production, and impacts on real income and retail sales. But this thread goes through each of those and basically concludes that, yes, real GDP, we're there. But real income is iffy and retail sales are iffy, and unemployment and industrial production, unemployment's not up and industrial production isn't dropping. So by the National Bureau of Economic Research standards, we have not officially technically gone into recession. Now, they do make the caveat that historically, when this one happens, when the real GDP happens, then these things
start
usually
to slow down.
Follow. Yeah, as well.
What you want is if you're going to slow it into a soft landing, you want that the two green ones, unemployment and industrial production, to slow down to yellow at this point.
Gotcha.
I think.
Right.
Because I think the GDP number is a accounting number in some way. Because I think it's like it's not hitting the full potential for growth, but it's actually not really contracting right now. And if so, it's just a minuscule amount, and that might be something to do with the accounting around. Well, what would it be? Maybe accounting around stimmy money or PPP stuff or year-end planning. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons for that.
Right.
But to me, oh, this is an interesting chart. To me, it's like it doesn't really matter. It's just another label.
Yep.
You know, crypto's still going. Everything's still happening. You know, you can still trade. It's just like, you know, recession, bad.
Right.
You know, and everybody's like, oh my God, we're in a recession. And, you know, I mean, I get it. Job contraction is a huge issue when that happens, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, these two charts, like, look, here's industrial production currently, right?
Is this the Financial Times? Where's this from?
No, this is from these guys. I think Coinometrics created.
Oh yeah, they're using the same color scheme. Okay, that's
yeah. But you know, you look here at industrial production now relative to, let's see, the blue line. That's the Great Recession. So that's 2008.
Yeah.
This red line is the dot-com recession. And then the rest of these lines are other recessions. So, I mean, you can see it starting to top off here, but we certainly haven't hit it yet. So,
look at that Great Depression line, though, man.
Dude. God, dude.
Now that was really just, you know, nobody knew what they were doing back then. Think about it.
Yeah.
You know, again, everybody wants to rail on regulators all the time and policymakers, but no, that was the case study to figure this stuff out. Because up till then, we had scandals still we have scandals, but we had scandals all the time on Wall Street. You know, the railroad companies, the mining companies, there were so many hustles in there. The car companies, there was like 12,000 car companies at one point. There were so many fake ones. There was so much bullshit. People lost the wildcat banks before they brought the central bank in place that would just take deposits and then close the door. I mean, oh, that sounds familiar. But that was all shut down. So, you know, to me, you know, I think we have all the tools to manage these things as best we can. And I'm actually surprised that, you know, it seems to be pretty effective.
Yeah.
What we do. And the fact that everybody's always guessing, like everybody in life. You know, you got 50 opinions, you try to synthesize and make a good call.
Absolutely.
Good data though, Brad. Good find.
Yeah, it's good. This account, Coinometrics, is good to follow. They have good stuff. So
yeah, I've been picking up a lot of economists too, because I follow a couple from those treasury guys, and then you get those ones on Twitter, like follow these 7.
Right.
And you look, and unfortunately, a lot of economists, you know, they kind of, I don't know how to put it. So the ones I'm following seem to go, and I don't mind it. They're kind of conservative economists, because I like to understand what they're saying, you know, kind of the Reaganomics kind of supply side stuff mostly.
Right.
But I want to see more, and I don't see it on Twitter, more of like other economic perspectives, you know, other economic theories than just the pure all out, you know, capitalist perspective. Not that that's bad. I just like to see everything and form my own opinion. So
no, I agree. Totally agree.
Saw this in your Material Indicators channel this morning.
Norwegian Central Bank.
Little plug for you there, buddy. Little plug for you.
Digital current. Thank you. Appreciate that, Joe. Materialindicators.com, people. Prototype infrastructure for Norway's central bank digital currency is based on Ethereum. Is that an Ethereum fork, or are they building it on Ethereum? Sandbox designed and offer an interface for interacting with the test network, enabling functions like minting, burning, and transferring. Okay, so it must be a fork.
Yeah, it's not supporting MetaMask by design, privately accessible by users with appropriate credentials. So that would be like, you know, kind of the Fed money window kind of thing here.
Right.
That would be their institution.
Got it.
Who was that guy at Vintner? What was that index company called? Vintner or something like that? Or was that in Stockholm or Oslo? Because I thought that guy, Jacob Vintner, I think, is a European index, crypto index. Just Google it, everybody. It's a great dude. I've talked to him a lot. But I thought he worked at Norges Bank.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ethereum cryptocurrency system is expected to provide a core infrastructure for issuance, distribution, and destruction of DCBM, which is also referred to as DSP. The prototype will be used to test a number of important features. Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I'm glad they're using Ethereum. I'm not so excited about central bank digital currencies, but they're going to come anyway.
Okay, it
so.
looks to me like they're, stop for a second, that the IMF has a report out on 97. We should find this. Scroll down a tiny bit. Yeah, released a report. 97 countries, half the global central banks exploring CBDCs. Now, this was in July. On the other hand, only 2 countries have fully launched CBDC, Nigeria and the Bahamas. We should find that IMF report.
It's right here.
Oh, you got it. Good. Thanks.
Yeah.
And
yep.
because I have a few friends that have left government recently, Treasury, SEC, CFTC, FDIC types that are kind of in consulting firms now where they're advising on CBDs. Of course, these guys don't really know anything about. I'm not picking on you guys, but you really don't know the stuff that we know about crypto. But I like the fact that you guys are in a space where you can help.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. That's all the news we had in the channel today. And then I have that thing, but this is actually pretty involved and long. This DeFi Labs, Delphi Digital Labs decision on what chain they're going to use. I'll put a link up to the original piece and then my bullet summary where I just did quick summaries of what they made their choices about. But at the core, here's their thesis. Their thesis is that more and more projects will have to move to subnets or subchains because of performance, control of expenses and gas costs, et cetera, as they grow popular. Their belief is that rather than there being one monolithic chain or chains, that what'll happen is that DeFi hubs will be built where all of these separate dApps and applications or bundles of applications will function on subnets or subchains, and then the flow of liquidity and everything will happen through these hubs, right? So you could think of it as
so maybe like DeFi nodes deployed on like a layer 0, like a Cosmos.
Yeah. They talk about it as suburbs and the city, and the bridges being the gateway, the path to the city. So that's their primary thesis. They have other, and I outlined them here, but they have other criteria there. So their position from the get-go on this is that monolithic chains where all of the dApps live on the chain, Ethereum and others, are going to no longer be the critical piece. And the critical piece is going to be these subnets and subchains underneath one other chain. And that the main liquidity will happen in this hub, and then all of the actual specific application activity will happen on other chains. So for them, it was very important, if they believe this thesis, for them to find a chain that they wanted to build their applications on that not only had that infrastructure already, but also had the ability for these chains to intercommunicate, right? So that tokens can be transferred back and forth, so that there's no need to go through a permissioned network to utilize something that's happening on another subchain. And so that was a really important piece of it. So they went through everything except for like Phantom wasn't in there. Ethereum L1, speed and cost killed it. ETH rollups, centralized sequencers caused them concern there, and the lack of interoperability between the rollups caused them concern. Doesn't fit their thesis. Things like Arbitrum, etc. Performance requires multiple rollups, which makes interoperability more difficult. So like Arbitrum has multiple different rollups they're having to deploy, and that's also causes interoperability issues. They think ZK's rollups are crucial to the future, but difficult to predict gain in market share, and they're not quite there yet. They don't think it's ready for prime time, and some require a specific language, which means it doesn't make it easy for people to transfer things over to those chains from other chains. And the lack of expertise in the rollups space right now amongst developers and technologists is enough that they're very concerned about the risks of bugs or other exploits being exposed that people don't see. Modular chains like Celestia rollups are promising, but there's not enough adoption yet. Polkadot fits their model and has a lot of capability, is very decentralized, has lots of devs, but user adoption isn't good enough yet. And then they talked about the fast monoliths. So Solana, Aptos, and Sui, the really fast monolithic chains. But the monolithic chains don't fit their model, and they use proprietary or languages that are not makes it so that your code can't transfer from one chain to another. They did say that they were very impressed with the Move programming language used on Aptos and Sui, and that if it matures and things pick up and they have more users, that they may take another look at that. Polygon came in second, had speed and a strong ecosystem are great, but they said that the current form of centralized governance decisions, including things like increasing gas prices and stuff, it's just not permissionless enough, and that there's only 100 nodes. They were supposed to start setting up auctions to let people replace those nodes. They haven't done that yet. They did say that they're starting to make moves to decentralize and hand off decisions to the community, but they're not yet there yet, but said that their great biz dev and their infrastructure and the fact that they have an ecosystem of different chains was actually something that put them in second place. Near, they said sharding is their differentiator, makes them high performance, highly scalable, but the biggest problem with sharding is that smart contract communications have to become asynchronous, because you can't count on being in the same shard with. So, for example, if there was a liquidation of a loan, right? There are three oracles, the lending platform, and dexes that are required for liquidations to happen. Well, the problem is with sharding, your transaction to start the liquidation may be in one shard, and then the transaction to get the data from the oracle or to send the trade to the dex may be in another shard. So it requires this convoluted and asynchronous communication, which makes it incredibly difficult to manage. They ultimately chose Cosmos. They said Cosmos had everything they needed, except for they don't have as big an ecosystem as some other chains. But because of the interoperability, the cross communications, the ability to have a hub already and have multiple chains that can communicate together, the ability for one user to have an account that's usable on all of the subchains and the primary hub, I can't remember what else, but they had a high Nakamoto coefficient, which means the number of colluding entities it takes to take over a chain. So all of their chains are from 7 to 10, whereas Ethereum is only 2 and Solana is 31. And they said another critical point was there are multiple independently funded developer teams that work on the core, separate entities, separate companies, separate groups that build on the core, which also is a strong decentralization mechanism. So.
Well, you know what I thought was interesting? They talk about two companies that you've brought to the table here before. Cantos.
Yep.
Isn't that Fubars? Who does Cantos?
Cantos, yeah. Cantos is on Cosmos, launched on Cosmos. And said
DYDX.
Exactly. DYDX has moved to Cosmos.
Yeah. Now we talked about Cosmos, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, we were talking, because we love that layer zero concept. When we're looking at chains and things and we're starting thinking, where does it go next? And my visualization is sort of a clear sphere with all these other spheres in it. And each one is, a metaverse or a chain or something. And they all got to talk to each other. And we don't want to see all that stuff. Cosmos to me seems to be the one that sort of could do that.
Yeah, Polkadot has some of that ability, but has some weaknesses. But now between me, my involvement in Cantos and this by Delphi Digital, I'm certainly taking a closer and closer look to what's going on in Cosmos. So,
what do we got? Aptos.
Dizzy said Aptos opened up testnet over the weekend. DevNet was the only one running up until Friday. He said he's excited for Aptos. Oh, and Sean on the KYC, wait, what were we talking about before?
I think he was talking about Vitalik shilling the merge versus.
No. This was about. I think this was about the KYC stuff.
Oh,
I can't remember now. Maybe he was talking about the economic.
He might have been talking about what I was saying.
I know what he was talking about. The CBDC. He was talking about centralized. He was talking about the centralized digital currencies. That's what he was talking about. And I
agree. Sean, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't look at it as a big thing in the sense of that it's going to improve decentralization or help in any of those areas. But I look at it as a more broader thing that maybe gets more normies thinking about it. Now, of course, we know all the other issues too.
Yeah, look,
Wallets
I think they're inevitable, but sadly, I think they're dangerous. So
yeah, I mean, it just depends on which state. I mean, I could the Chinese stablecoin one, that is very worrisome if you can come pull stuff out of people's wallets, and that wallet is the only thing they hold value in.
Yep.
And they get more money if their social rating is higher, from the surveillance of what they do on everything. That is very worrisome to me, that kind of totalitarian control. But all systems have the ability potentially to be like that, centralized. So yeah, I understand what you're saying,
I privately think all the CBDCs will have the ability to pull money out, will have the ability to monitor what you're doing, because I think that's what they want. I think that's what they want. So it's going to be interesting, because if they do launch like that, and they make it an integral part of the banking system, it's going to be really interesting to see whether humans outside of totalitarian countries give into that.
Well, I think that you have to have, it has to somehow be buried in like GDPR or California Privacy Act and things like that as to what you can and can't look. They had to pass the Patriot Act just to be able to look at all the phone metadata, and which is pretty scary in its own right. I would think that there would have to be some legislation accompanying this that says what you can and can't do, and that's the difference between, say,
right. But as
planning and everyone else.
On the Patriot Act, we do know that once that floodgate opened, the intelligence agencies were looking at things they weren't supposed to look at. So
yeah, I mean, that just happens.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're going now and saying, hey, Brad, he's talking shit, let's go look at what he's doing. They don't do that. It's just that what happens is that the data it's hard to keep the data compartmented appropriately and keep all the Americans out of the data streams, because that's what they're not supposed to be looking at, but they can look at everything else globally. Yeah. It's just there's a law that says they can. Now, yeah, sure, sometimes they do, and then there's also kind of rogue people sometimes that break the rules. We see that all the time. But I think at the system level, the aspirational concept is what we have to keep working to improve around privacy. It's in the friggin' Constitution. I don't see why people can't make an argument about privacy like you make an argument about guns. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me.
The Republicans want to reverse the Supreme Court decisions about privacy. They started with Roe v. Wade, and their next stage is gay marriage. So that is actually something that they want to have happen, because privacy protections are not embodied in the document in terms of the words, but the Supreme Court has validated them on multiple interracial marriage, gay marriage, and abortion. And their goal, in order to get what they want on marriage and abortion, is to overturn the Supreme Court saying that we have a right to privacy. They want to invalidate that.
But how much are they going to like it when everybody starts looking at them? That's the weird.
Exactly.
It's like this fight started 40 years ago. All this stuff that's coming to a head now, and I just think that this country's moved way beyond that.
You would hope.
I think 70% of the population is, I'm going to say is pro women's rights. Pro woman. We're not going to break it down. Obviously, it's driven by the abortion issue, but 70% is that. I think 70% of the people are, more into where we are today versus where we were 40 years ago. And I don't think you can move it back.
Well, I never thought you could move it back on abortion, and look, here we are. I mean, here's the bottom line. It doesn't take a lot in this country for a minority that wants a theocracy to gain control of the levers of government. And
it's scary.
And that, I mean, look, a majority of Americans, 60% plus, say that they would, if you take away party labels and tell them the positions of each party, say they would be voting Democrat, but they don't. And so there's a factor in elections that happens that gives people control. I mean, and once gerrymandering starts setting in, look at the state of Florida. Right? The state of Florida is not majority Republican, but the state of Florida is majority controlled at every level of government by Republicans. And that's because they've gerrymandered everything in the state once they gained control of the legislature and the governor's house. So I agree with you that ship should have sailed, but I'm not sure.
Well, I guess I'm with you 100% on that.
I'm not
I think we're at that last battle right here.
Here's the big battle, though. It's the judiciary, and when they have the presidency and the Senate, they take control of the judiciary, which is what they did during the Trump years. The judge that allowed the pause on the Justice Department and appointing the special master with no justification for it was a Trump appointee.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why Trump put those people there. So
yeah, but look, I agree, and people say that on both sides.
And we have a Supreme Court now that's 6-3 conservative.
Oh, I agree. So, I agree. That's not good either. But you know, I read the DOJ response to her, you know, staying the review of articles motion, and they just come in. I mean, they shredded it basically, but then they said, "Look, do what you're going to do, but we're going to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Good
if you don't reverse it." So the thing is, it goes up, and hey, look, you know, the stuff I'm reading about today, what was in those folders, and what may have happened to one of them, the very, very sensitive one about nuclear secrets. There's speculation out there that it's already been sold.
I wouldn't surprise me.
So, I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but, you know, that happens. I think all of the most conservative, hardcore, you know, right-wing, I guess Republicans would be the word. I think they turn on them at that point. Because
we'll
the
see.
one thing they aren't. They actually believe that they're right. That's the bizarre part.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, how do you this is why I look at so many sources of information, because you have to synthesize your own opinion, not just look at one stream of data, whatever that may be, you know, left or right. I'm not picking on anybody. You got to get the synthesized approach. And I just think that these, I'm going to say it, MAGA Republicans, I think that they how do I put it the right way? I don't think that they really like this guy. I'm sorry, I don't. And I think when this shit comes out, it's going to turn on them. And I'll, you know, hopefully, you know, they got to do it on their own because we can't tell them to do it. But, you know, hopefully some see the light. But they're all old too, so.
I have to roll to another call, Joe.
Oh, whoa.
I didn't realize what time it was.
So, yeah, so let's wrap up. Big week with the CPI.
Big week. There's a crazy-ass week coming up.
The merge, the Senate hearings, the FOMC, there's all kinds of excitement. Of course, and then the Ukrainian offensive, where they've just, you know, the Russians are abandoning equipment and running away. Go figure.
I read a really long thread about how the condition of that military right now is a total cluster.
I just, you know, look, it's hollow. They don't want to fight.
No, they don't want to be there.
Like, what the hell? We thought we were going off on a training thing, and now we're in, you know, 17-year-old kid dumped in Ukraine with no training.
They're starving.
Yeah.
They're having to, and because they're not in an official war, they're under contract. They can quit when they want to. And they're like now locking up their troops in buildings that want to leave and go home. They're
I heard there was a situation a few weeks ago with, you know, some of the, maybe it was a few months, but some of those Chechens, or it was Wagner group, one of those two that are there, started executing regular Russian soldiers for not wanting to fight. And then the Russian soldiers turned and killed all of them.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're like, we're not, this is stupid. So, you know, again, that positiveness from the Western perspective is something that is also buoying everything, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I got to wrap it up.
Let's go.
Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. We so appreciate you being here. Please spread the word. Tell your friends and family. Retweet our tweets about the show. And when you get a chance, please take 2 minutes, go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, rate and review us. And when you're on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe and click the little bell so you get notified when a new episode is coming out. If you have any thoughts or comments, B05 Crypto on Twitter or Telegram. We appreciate you. We love you. Joe, have a great day. That's all I got. Yeah, no, good Monday. Exciting week. Hopefully we'll have the show tomorrow after the CPI print, I believe. And then we'll either be celebrating or going, uh-oh. Come on, merge, baby.